I'm Lynsey from Buckie in the northeast of Scotland. I was involved in a community cardiac event with my father-in-law. It was a normal Friday night. I was at home with my two girls who were aged 11 and 10 at the time. My husband was out walking our two dogs when I got a phone call from him to say something wasn't right with his dad and could I go up as quick as possible. And when I got there, it was obvious from the start that something was clearly wrong. My mother-in-law was on the phone to 999 to say that we needed a help, and it became apparent quite quickly that my father-in-law didn't have a pulse. So I managed to get him lying down on the bathroom floor and started doing CPR with my mother-in-law looking on and witnessing it. It was the wildcat responders that got in first, and just right behind them the paramedics. And they very quickly took over. I don't think anybody can warn you or prepare you for what it feels like to do that, and to do it for 20 minutes. It was very physical and I was absolutely exhausted after it, not to mention all the emotions that went alongside that as well. And I just remember at the time sinking into myself and thinking, gosh, what's just happened, and trying to process the fact that we just lost my father-in-law, but also the fact that I had been involved, and had I done it right? You know, the actions that I'd taken on that night, were they right, were they wrong? And I didn't feel that I could share that with anyone. I got home and I realised that my hands were bruised. I had bruises all over my knees from being bent down on a hard bathroom floor. And I had a black toenail from where I had been hunched over doing CPR. And those were stark reminders for me, and that sort of week to 2 weeks afterwards, every time I looked at those bruises it reminded me of what happened. I blamed myself, and that wasn't something I felt I could share with anyone round about me because everybody was grieving, and I felt selfish almost to turn around and say, I want to talk this through, I want a bit of help. So I would say reach out at the earliest opportunity, take the support that's been offered to you, because if I had had support at that time and I'd had the service of the advice line, I could have spoke to somebody that would understand what I had been through, that could reassure me that I had done the right thing. One of the questions the police asked me on the night was, did you do chest compressions and mouth to mouth, or was it just chest compressions you did? And I think to have somebody to talk that through that understands how the whole process works, and that could just say, Lynsey, you did the right thing and you did everything you could. And I think that would have made a huge difference to me. And for me, that help initially, I think in the longer term, would mean that I would have moved on a lot quicker than what I did. But I also think not to underestimate, my mother-in-law witnessed that, and that was her husband, and it was her daughter-in-law that was involved in it. And while my mother-in-law's never spoke to me about it, I can only imagine how that feels for her. So had we been offered the support at the time, my mother-in-law might very well have taken that support from the advice line, and it maybe would have helped her through some of the darker days as well.